At the bandsaw, I am using my 17-inch Grizzly bandsaw. I am going to be ripping these 7/8 inch by 3/4 inch uh, pieces of wood. This one is Bloodwood, and this one is Wenge. And I have this set for about 1.5 millimeters thick. As you can see, I've already cut quite a few already. This is a 7/8 inch carbide tipped resaw blade. And I'm just using the block like this. I'm on the high side, 7/8 inch, and then tall by 3/4 of an inch wide. I'm just have that riding up against the fence. I'm just using one of these cutoff slices as a push stick. And you can see how that's done. It's a nice slice. So at the lathe, I am using this little drum sander, and I have this little flat piece here inside the tool post. This is at a 90 degrees, and I have it gapped here, which is about 1.4 millimeters. So I'm only sanding one side of this, and I've spent about an hour sanding these. And these are my rough cut pieces. And I'm just looking at which side is the smoothest and which side is the roughest. I'm just going to sand a little bit on one side. And the way this works is, of course, the rotation is coming at you like this. So if you're not holding on to this, it'll jam this and shoot this straight through. So you have to hold on to it with two hands, go in about halfway, pull it back out, rotate, insert, and then pull it back out. Pretty simple, but I have to do it with dust collection on. I don't want to breathe this stuff. That's what happens if you don't hold on. Like I said, this is just a simple flat piece right here. This is a 1/2 inch shaft. This goes inside your tool post holder. This is just a piece of cocobolo. I just glued some plywood together, double stacked it, drilled a hole in the drill press, made sure this was at exactly 90 degrees. This goes in here like this, tighten that. There's your flat surface, solid as a rock, as long as you use a hardwood. And this is just a drum sander that I got at Rockler. I put a little divot on the back side here, and that's for the live center to keep that in place. Otherwise, this will have a tendency to walk out. But if you want to do something like that, really simple, you're only paying for this. Chances are you probably have some scrap material you can use to make this out of. And then a pen blank. Okay, now that I've selected the wood, these are actually just for the end pieces for the cap and the body. And these are 11 pieces here and 11 pieces here. And I have black, red, black, red, black, white, black, red, black, red, black. So we're using more black than we are red. So this stack right here is actually just for the end piece from here to here. And then we will make another stack for the middle, which is going to be like this. So this is what the middle stack looks like this right here. We have red, black, white, black, red, black, red. So these four are a reverse image, mirror image of the lower four. So that when I put this in the table saw and I cut these, I can rotate and flip and get the amount of pieces that I need out of each one. And I'm doubling this just in case I make a mistake. So this should be much thinner than this is over here. Or not much thinner, but just a little bit thinner so that it looks more correct. Let me put a thicker strip. There we go. So I'm just going to glue these up. I'll show you how I glue one of them. I'm going to start with the thicker ones first. Now I've got some walnut 7/8 inch pieces here that are nice and straight, and I have them covered with packing tape. Packing tape, these are going to be like my glue blocks. Once I get this sandwiched in between, and then I clamp that, these will be nice and dead flat. And then I'll take these, once the glue is dried, I'll just take it to the bandsaw and cut off all that glue waste on the end. And then I can cut the segments on the table saw. A long process to get this. And we're just going to use some wood glue because this is just wood. Nothing fancy. Once we turn it, we will use CA glue. But just to glue it together, all we need is wood glue. Nothing fancy. So this is what this looks like clamped up. And as you can see, that glue is almost dry. I didn't realize my phone had shut off. It got overheated, but these are 3. This is another one that's just like this. And then these are the other 2 stacks, the other 2 different sets of layers. But we'll come back, and then after I trim these up on the bandsaw, and this is a day later, by the way. Off camera, I already bandsawed the edge off so it's nice and clean. And then at the table saw, I cut one end off, squared it up on a 90 on my segmenting jig. I'm going to use the 60-degree angle side here, like this. And I'm going to make some segments like this. And I just want to test these out and see how they look. First, we're going to cut 4 of these, and then we're going to replicate one of these diamond patterns. So my first cut, I want to leave a little bit long, and I want to make sure that I'm just past this right here because I need to leave room. This is on 0 right here, so I need to account for the saw kerf, which is a little less than 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to cut that a little bit long. I'm using my hold down clamp to hold that in place. That's nice and secure. And I like to wait for that blade to completely stop before I get my hand anywhere near that. That's why I use an eraser, pencil with an eraser. The eraser will grab that wood, get it out of your way. And if you nick the eraser, no big deal. These are 10 in a pack for $1. Better than nicking your finger or taking that off. So I'll need to go to the disc sander real quick off camera, and I'm going to sand these edges where they're nice and even, and then I want to glue them together like this. But then I also want to make sure that not only that, these are also at a 90-degree angle. These are not at a 90-degree angle once they are together like this. Here we are back at the disc sander, and then there is my line right there. You can see, now I don't want to do it like this, otherwise we're just going to end up with the same cut. So we need to disc sand this way so that when I'm flush across this line, I know that I'm 90 degrees all the way across. Now I just need to do the same thing to all four. I'll do the other 3 off camera. Now that we have all these sanded to the same length, and if we take a look like this, we can see that that is a 90 degree on the bottom. And if we flip it over, that looks really good like that. So the trick is put a little bit of glue, then we're going to clamp it, and then hit with the activator, and then just let that set. So this is a Gorilla Glue. This is super glue, a CA glue. This is equivalent to a medium viscosity. I ran out of my thin CA, and it should be here in a day or two, I hope. I haven't had a chance to get to Rockler to pick it up, and that's about 35 miles each way. So I put some medium CA in there, and that, you can see how that lines up on that side.
Well, I guess it's not going to work.
So there's barely enough there to grab, but that's lined up at least. And then I'll do the same thing with the other side. With the camera not on it, it worked really good, clamping right on there. And as you can see, I have both of those done. So we'll just let those cure, and then we'll come back to those, and then I will reclamp the other direction. I will hit it with a little activator, why not? Now that we have our 2/2 done, I'm just going to join these right up the middle and line those up. This has a groove on each side, as you can see. There. That'll work. Then we'll come back. There, I hit that with a little activator, and you can see the color differentiation a lot better now as that dries. So I took a piece of scrap wood that's 3/8 inch wide. I've marked it like this, right at the end of the diamond, and I did that on each side. So I just want to cut that off and sand it nice and flush, and leave the line on both sides. And I'm just going to do that at the disc sander, and I'll be right back. Okay, now we have those cut off and sanded. Now we need to repeat and reverse this process. This is one of the larger blanks that I made for this, and as you can see, I originally cut it in half. Then when I tried to put it in the segmenting sled over here, this was too short, so I had to glue it back together. So I'm cutting this first, then I'm cutting this one second, and then I'm splitting it in half. And that's what I did with these right here. These I need longer for the back end of these. This is sort of like my practice one, what I've been working on. And once we get the middle part first, I need to cut this edge off right here on both sides. So only from the diamond is showing. And then once that is cut off, then I'm going to make these exactly like this, like that. But this has to be longer instead of shorter like this. And then what we cut off of this right here will fit inside here. You'll understand what I'm talking about as I move along. So I'm going to come back after I get this cut and trimmed up like this. And then when these are glued and trimmed, then I'll come back and explain how I'm going to add this to this right here. So it makes sense, but this needs to be about this long over here. So now that I have these all glued up, and the pieces that I cut off of here, which were these little pieces like this, I saved these because I'm gluing them in that void, alternating the colors like that. So I'm just going to take a little bit of glue Drop that in. Doesn't take much. Push that in place. Wiggle it in. And then when that cures, we are all set to go. Then we can cut this end off right here where that mark is. Not the mark, but where the tip is on the maple, like that. All right, now that I have these pieces cut and laid out, and you can see what that looks like, I've drawn some shadow lines so that I know how big my blanket needs to actually be based on my drawing. And that is the lower piece right here. And you can see how, from the drawing, how this is all coming together, like this. So after these pieces are cut off, what I'm going to do off camera is I am going to flip these over like that, glue that, one on each side, so the cut off pieces aren't going to be wasted, to get those to fill those gaps. I'll do that on both sides. I'll square, then I'll glue, and then I'll reverse the process, and then I'm going to start with the red on this side over here and fill those gaps, and then we'll come back. But what it looks like is, it looks like this. This is exactly what I did, what I just explained. And then I took some time sanding and then gluing everything up so that this piece right here, this is for the bottom. This matches up for my length exactly. Maybe you can see it better like that. So that is going to be for the bottom of the pen. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the top, and the top is just a little bit shorter, which is no big deal. And then we'll just adjust the size of this accordingly. We'll just make this a little bit smaller. And you can see I've got holes in my gloves. That's from the CA glue and getting caught on that and just pulling off. So I'll be switching my gloves out again. And then we're going to switch some gears. I just got these blanks in the mail. I was waiting for these to come in. These are crushed turquoise. I got these in from Rockler. And these are acrylic acetate. And I'm going to be making the section out of this pen. I'm going to make this off camera, and I'm going to make a band, and I'm going to just drill that out and add that off camera as well. So what we're going to have is we're going to have something like this. This design is based off of this pen here. The dimensions for the cap and the body, those were drawn off of that. So this in between right here is the cap band. This cap band in the middle between the two brass, that's going to be turquoise. I'm going to put turquoise on top inside the ebonite, and then turquoise on top and on the bottom inside the ebonite. And then a section, we're going to make a concave section, and that is going to be turquoise, this material here. But instead of, you see brass here, we're going to be using aluminum, and then we're going to be using a stainless steel Joe number 6 Rosetta nib. So to speed things up, I'm going to do everything off camera, and then we'll come back when we're done. This is the bottom so far, and I still have to make an end piece right here, but we'll get to that in a little bit. That's no big deal. And then I've got these silver, or actually aluminum, but they look like they're silver. And those go over that. You can see that's really tight. See how that's drilled out. I drilled this out in the lathe, not on the drill press. And then for the top part, this is the turquoise band. These are drilled out to 1930 seconds. And then my blank, which I have yet to drill, I have it marked like this. So this is going to be drilled 1930 seconds, and then 3/8 for this right here for the remainder. And that'll slide over like that. And we'll come back when that's done. Okay, it's been a long process up until this point. And you can see that this is the cap on this end. This is the bottom on this end. I already glued this in. This is a 10mm plug in turquoise. This is an 8mm plug with the crushed turquoise. This is not glued in place yet. I just wanted to show you how that was done. So this is, I think, 27/64 this hole is drilled out to, and then an 8mm hole over here. This slides on like that, and then the plug goes in so that when we glue everything, all this will be glued at one time. I'm not putting glue here, obviously, because that's the joint. It's a double start tap that I use, double start threads, so that when I look at the pen like this, I know that everything's lined up, same way like this, front to back, back to front, so that when the kit is, or not the kit, when the pin is, the cap is unscrewed from the body and then screwed back on, it will line back up in the same orientation, whether it's front to back or back to front. And that's what I normally do when I'm doing segmenting. I use a double start tap and die. If it's just a regular pen like this where the grain doesn't really matter, then I'll do a triple start thread. So now all I have to do is I'm going to use some thin CA glue. I will flood the joint, or flood the blank. That will seep through because it's very thin. And then I need to unscrew the cap, the top part, because I do not want CA glue getting into those threads, because this is where our clip will go. And then I can take this off. Actually, I need that one there. I'm sorry. And yeah, we will just glue that up next. Just let that set, and then we'll come back. At the lathe, I have the cap here situated. You can see this is the cap band in the crushed turquoise. We're using black Japanese Ebonite like I had shown earlier. And on the end, you can see a little bit of turquoise over here. That's dimpled for the live center. And then I will end up cutting this off to about here, about 1/8 of an inch off of that cap or so. You notice that I've relieved the edges here all the way around so that when I start turning, it doesn't catch and shatter the blank. So I'm going to be using a carbide bit, but before I start, I'm going to replace this carbide tip with a new one so it's nice and fresh and clean. I'll resharpen this one later, and then we'll get started. Okay, one of the things is as I'm turning this down, I need to stop and check periodically for tear out. And I want to eliminate as much tear out as possible because of the grain direction is going several different ways. So I want to restabilize that. So I'm using my thin CA glue. I'm going to flood the blank. And this is just to stiffen those fibers. All the way around. And because I used quite a bit of accelerator when I built the blank, I don't really need to add accelerator to it. That will cure on its own, but that I will just speed it up a little bit and hit it with a little activator. So a little activator right there. That is this right here. Now that is solid. Now I can turn it off, and I'll probably have to do this 1 or 2 more times, and then we'll come back when I get down to the final shape. All right, we're back after some time. We've got this cap shaped. This is 17 millimeters on this end. This is 16 millimeters on this end. And then I just need to cut off the end. And then I sanded this down to 220, but I will continue sanding this. And then I will use micro mesh. I'm going to do a CA finish on it first. This is just 1 coat of CA and then sand it down to 220. But I'm going to put multiple layers of CA on this and then wet sand and really bring this out to a high gloss polish. And I'll do the same with the bottom end or the body, and then we'll come back once that's done just to speed through the process. Otherwise, this will be a long, boring video. Okay, so this is our cap. We've got a little turquoise on the end right there. This is that band that we talked about. Now I've got some micro mesh pads here laid out underneath. I've got water in front of my lathe. And this is just a long, slow process. Get that wet. Slow the turn. This is 1500 grit. This is 1800 grit. Well, it's going to be a long process, So I'm just going to do the rest off camera just like that. I may have to do it twice. There may be some scratches in there that I need to gently work out, but then we'll come back after I do the cap. I'm going to do the body, and then I'm going to do the section all off camera. So next time we come back, this will all be polished, and then we'll be ready to work on our clip that goes in there. We're back. After a lot of wet sanding, we finally have a pen. Let's unscrew the cap. You can see there's our turquoise section, and I took the time to line up the nib along with this right here, so that when the person is writing, if they're right or left-handed, this diamond pattern or double X pattern is going to be in alignment with the nib. And this is our cap here. This came out really nice. And this, like I said before, is a double start thread, so that when you put the cap on, it doesn't make a difference where you start it. You're going to end up, and it's going to be in alignment just like that on both sides. If it was the triple start, it would only be aligned once out of 3 times. But because this is a 2 start, this will always be in alignment. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to fit this for the clip. Now, I took some time off camera to actually make this spoon clip. The customer, Patrick, he mailed me this spoon as part of the custom order for this right here for a clip. I used Muggy Weld SSQ6 silver solder, very expensive soldering paste, not like your regular wire solder. This is totally different. So you have to use a torch with that. So this right here obviously gets inside here like this. This gets screwed in. This is recessed on the inside. So Patrick wants this in alignment like this over the diamond pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark this with a Sharpie right here on both sides. And then I'm going to cut down inside with a miniature back saw. At my miniature bench vise, I have these soft jaws in here. And I'm just going to take this and this is going to go in here like this to hold this in place. You can see that this is recessed right there. There is a lip that's about 1 millimeter thick depth, and this is the miniature back saw that I'm going to use. And we're going to use a metal file. So once I get this where I want this in the middle like that, I want to put a line on one side first. It's going to be hard to see. So I am just going to cut like this. I want to double check this to be sure that that is in the right spot. Looks like it is. And if it's a little more on the inside, that's okay. I can always come back around later and make this gap a little bit wider. I'm going to take my little jeweler's saw. That looks like it's a spot on fit. Now I just want to use the edge of the metal file like this and then just drop that down flat. A little tip, make your clip first and then cut this out after. No wiggle. Oh, a little bit of wiggle. I'll fix that real quick. I'll sand the top of that down just a little bit so that this grips a little bit better. And then I think we are good. All right, so there is our clip. You can see how that is. That's about a millimeter gap from the back to the front. And you can see what that looks like. I think that looks very, very nice. So you know what to do. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. And we'll see you in the next one. Have a good day. Hey, this is Gabriel Castro. Thanks for watching my YouTube channel. You can click on the link right here and subscribe. You can watch a video series right here or the latest video right here.